Let's do this. A little bit more setting up to do here. Come on in, come on in. Let's see if we can find me. All right. Getting gear here. Hello, hello, welcome in. I'm just getting set up here. We're going to do a little musical discussion, music mentality to start off. Hey, North Carolina, hey, Dad. Hi, Jody. Just let a few more people come in as I set up. How y'all doing today? What am I doing here? Let's create a post. Let everybody know we're going live. Don't have a thumbnail. Okay, let's copy the link. How's the sound here? Anybody hear me all right? Okay, I don't know if that helps the source audio, but I assume you can all hear me. You can all see me. I can see you in the chats. Yeah, I like the thank you, Jody, 5x5. Got a rambling man in the audience. Good to know. Yeah, I thought last Saturday went pretty good, other than all the technical difficulties. So I'm gonna try doing some of these live music discussions and then just clip them and then put it in the playlist for people that are just interested in the music content. But I'll just leave it up as one big video. So for the first, I don't know, half hour, I've got some things on my mind, some music mentality to discuss, and then we could talk about whatever. Kind of, if you were here last week, which I think a bunch of you were, we'll start by me just vomiting out my thoughts, and latecomers that come in, I won't necessarily acknowledge everybody. I'll sort of keep my eye on the chat, but I'll kind of get my incoherent babbling out first for you guys to consider, and then we can open up the discussion and kind of wrap up the music mentality content there. Hey, Mike, welcome on in. So yeah, if that takes half an hour, we'll just chat it up for a little bit and then move on to whatever else you guys want to talk about. There's a couple of things I want to mention, some shout outs, some links I want to post up, but first things first, I gotta grab my coffee, so grab your beverages. Get your popcorn. Won't be stopping for a potty break. So strap yourselves in. Paging Mr. Osgood. Mr. Osgood, you are wanted in the chat. Mr. Osgood. All right, we'll put on an APB for Mr. Osgood. It's Saturday. It's been a wild week. Let's see if Mr. Osgood shows up here. Sorry, I'm looking at my laptop instead of the camera. So while trying to set up today, I'm just streaming on my phone. I think you can tell. Finally figured out how to get it in horizontal mode. If you guys like watching vertical mode, it's too bad. I'm doing it this way. And so, no smudges on the camera. I can't tell. Anyways, we wanted to talk about, after I get my glasses on, we want to talk about Southern Rock Retrospective Revisited. So we'll cut this beginning off here, and we'll start the music mentality of the Southern Rock Retrospective Part 2, or Revisited. About a month ago, I had released a Southern Rock Retrospective as part of a foundational series, or part of a playlist I wanted to put together of musical content. And I enjoyed that video. Like, I've been doing a bunch of music videos of just the music that's influenced me, kind of been the soundtrack of my life. And the Southern Rock has been a part of it very early on. So I encourage you to go check that one out if you already haven't. I think some of you may be familiar with that one already. But there's just a few more thoughts came into my head in the last few days. And even remembering back to last week, it was this highly controversial video I was responding to that Andy Edwards had made, where he named Free as the number one rockin' band. And I couldn't, that just wasn't sitting with me. And so I did this whole treatment how AC/DC is rightfully deserving the number one spot. And so go back to last week's live part 1 and 2. There was a treatment of the AC/DC Free controversy, and then we settled once and for all the Black Sabbath question that, for whatever reason, hasn't been able to be answered up to this point. But we determined that Ozzy Osbourne was in fact the singer in Black Sabbath that was clearly superior to all others, including the Honorable Ronnie James Dio. Now, having said that, I was thinking on it this week. It really kind of struck me yesterday. This is sort of ties into what I was saying there. Dolores is missing too. Well, you guys search everybody out. Oh, Brandon just made it in. Welcome, welcome. We're just getting started. In any case, in that Southern Rock Retrospective I did a month ago, I made a quite bold statement in that I said the concert that Lynyrd Skynyrd had played in 1976 in the springtime there. What concert was it? It was one where the Rolling Stones were headlining, and I called that the high water mark, or the peak of Western civilization. And that, you had the British invasion up to that point through the early 60s and into the 70s with bands like the Rolling Stones and the Beatles and Led Zeppelin and Cream and all these great bands, and Black Sabbath was part of that too. but in the southern United States, you had this really return to the blues, and a lot of those uh, that first wave of the British invasion, they were blues bands that really incorporated that American blues sound, captured it, and turned it into rock, blues rock, and they did a great job with it. I mean, we all love that music, whether it's the Yardbirds or Cream. You know, there's just countless numbers of those great blues rock bands. But in the South, what became Southern rock, it was like a combination of blues, rock, gospel, uh, and it captured something that took that blues rock one step further, or maybe one step backwards, more towards the blues roots. And it occurred to me yesterday, I believe it was, that it was this melancholy sound, for lack of a better descriptor, that really defined that southern rock sound. That, and it's more than just a sound. It was like that whole attitude. And if you go back and look at that original southern rock retrospective, it kind of addresses that. And today I want to go a little deeper in that. You know, the American blues scene was really defined by, you know, these really great artists, mostly that incorporated electric guitar, even back to acoustic guitar days. But the blues, and at the time it was called, you know, playing a blues. It had that mournful, soulful, uh, almost sorrowful spirit behind it. You know, just these people were poor. Yeah, Jimi Hendrix. Some of them were came from real hard upbringing. Some were born on plantations or born to sharecroppers. You know, whether it was Muddy Waters or BB King or, you know, I actually did some research to share my thoughts here, and just looking at some of these artists that came out of the American South, whether it's the Delta Blues or the Mississippi Sound, you know, all through the South, it it was poor people singing about their life experience, and that inspired the people over in England to stand on the shoulders of that sound, but to transform it into something that they were very gifted at doing. Was it the blues? Not necessarily. It was it was blues influenced, most certainly. But I was looking at the backgrounds of some of these acts, and as Andy Edwards might say, and you know, tip of the hat to Andy, for kind of bringing to light some of these ideas around these artists that we all love. But many of them were these posh boys or poshies, as Andy would say. You know, they all came from quite privileged origins. I was looking at, uh, you know, whether it was Jimmy Page. You know, he was performing from a very young age for money. Uh, John Lennon actually seemed to have a really hard childhood, and that may have influenced his artistry. But you know, Paul McCartney, the Rolling Stones, you know, Jagger and Richards, they were poshies. They didn't experience what what their predecessors did that produced that blues sound. They took it and funkified it and turned it into something that became immensely popular, and that music is loved to this day. Uh, but these people didn't live the blues, to the point like I even looked up the band Free, and the drummer there, I forget his name. Um, but he's like from a family of baronets. Like he's aristocracy, like the most. He's like virtually a prince, you know, the elite. He's of the peerage, you know, and so in looking at the biographies of some of these people, it's like they were gifted artists, but they didn't live that sound that they borrowed, and that doesn't make it any more or less legitimate. It is what it is. But you know, fast forward through to the late '60s and early to mid '70s, you had the Jimi Hendrix coming up. You had the Allmans, the uh, Johnny and Edgar Winter. You had Leonard Skinner, all coming from rather, if not modest, or if not humble, but modest beginnings. And it's like they recaptured that spirit that was behind the blues that came from the 30s, 40s, 50s, and on. And it just kind of captured my heart that that's what was missing with the British first wave of you know, blues rock. And in that retrospective I did, I went all out and said, you know, the Leonard Skinner band, they took their sound, went back to uh, you know, the motherland, to England, and on the Rolling Stones, with the home field advantage, they just blew the Stones out of the water. And by the end of the show with Freebird, they just totally destroyed the audience. It it became, hey, what's the matter, you? Come on in. What's the matter, you? By the way, everybody say hi. He's quite possibly AC/DC's biggest fan that I've ever come across. So shout out to What's the Matter. Uh, but uh, but it just got me thinking, like, and it was really a song, Tuesday's Gone. You know, there's such that mournful train whistle sound, the lyrics, the lilting melodies. You know, it's, you can hear the pain, you can hear the sorrow, you can hear the melancholy in that tune. But even in Freebird, you know, just whether it's the lyrics or the rhythms, I just wanted to put that out there, that that to me is what captivated me with that southern rock sound. And you can see it in all these bands. You know, whether it was George Thorogood or the Almonds. By the way, I did a little bit of research on that Freebird as well. I think, I forget if Dad was talking to me about Captain Beefheart or somebody else. You can, I'll be checking in the chat in another second. The song Freebird was first performed actually at I believe Curtis Allen's wedding in 1970, and I was holding to the idea that that song took many years to develop before it actually appeared on vinyl on their first album. So the where was I going with that? With Freebird, live, no edits, folks. We're 19 minutes in and I've already confused myself. Um, just that sound, it captivated me as a young man, and it's almost like there's a resurgent or a reinterest in that. Oh, I've even got some visuals just to help you see where I'm getting at. Um, the it's like tying the music aspect into real life. Like, things are pretty wild these days. I don't know if you've been noticing or paying attention. If you ever turn off your inner screen and take a walk outside or just see what's going on. But it's like people are kind of messed up, and it's getting harder and harder for me to relate to people. And you look at some of these big acts, and I mean the one that springs to mind, obviously Taylor Swift, and just some of these they it's like they're not relatable anymore. The common man is it's not that we're struggling, but it's like we want hope or something to identify with. The disenfranchised, the fringe, and it's not. I'm not seeing the artists of today reaching out and being that for people. Uh, at least not in the music that I prefer. And so it's almost like having a need to go back into time. Are we buffering here? Is it me or is it you? I see a bunch of glitchy screening going on. Anyways, let's just slow it down. Slow it down. The need to identify with music and for the artist to identify with the audience is just that's what I feel is lacking nowadays. Back in my day. But it's like I didn't come from poverty. It's not like I've got the blues or what have you. But that demographic of people that just were working class that didn't come from privileged origins, that they were just there, right? And I've got some album art here I want to show you. Actually, I was listening to this before we came on the air, just to get a feel for the blues. And this is a Bo Diddley. It's called "Where It All Began," and I love this album art. It's this gatefold that's vertical. Wait for the camera to catch up. I don't know why we're so glitchy here. I've got good internet. Just gonna wait for my interwebs to catch up. But yeah, this is called "Where It All Began." Rocking it in the big shitty, but the humble origins down the sharecropper, the farm, the plantation, what have you, with the animals and the grass and the trees. Yeah, I just thought that was so cool. Really, it's not that much. It's bluesy, but it's a very actually upbeat sounding album. But I wanted to contrast with this album art, and album art has always been something I've loved. But many of you may be familiar with this band, Molly Hatchet. So this is late '70s. This was released in '79, I believe. But it's the people. Look at these guys. I'm just gonna look on my monitor here, make sure we're all in frame here, in focus. Where are we? I mean, look at these mugs. Like working class boys, would you want to tangle with any of them? These are the boys down home. And so you could just, I don't know. You look at the way they stand, the way they carry themselves. They just seem like guys that are salt of the earth, or that have seen some trouble in their lives. They've kind of they're singing to a human experience that I can relate to. In contrast with, say, these posh boys. No, I love these guys, but I mean that's all you see is these are soft guys. I mean, and Alice. He had some stuff together, but Neil Smith, the drummer up here, like I mean, he became a real estate agent after the band broke up. And by the way, they're coming back, or they've come back with a new album that's it's going to be out this July, from what I understand. But I mean, just the opulence and the decadence. You know, just let's show off let's just show off our monies because we are the billion-dollar babies. This was very self-reflective, self-referential, complete self-awareness that these guys had no business doing what they did, and they were especially poking fun at themselves. You know, so I appreciate the humor behind that, but these guys were not necessarily speaking to the human experience. They were doing something completely different. So again, that's a contrast. I wanted to contrast the Southern rock look, the image, the feel, with something closer to home for me. And this is Canadian band Streetheart. They're right from my neck of the woods. They started in Regina, Saskatchewan, and later kind of formed as a unit in Winnipeg, which is my hometown. This album, of course, is called Under Heaven, Over Hell. It's got the hit song Hollywood on there. But I mean, look at these dangerous guys. Like, I mean, just soft guys. You know? So this isn't Southern rock, Southern blues, any of that. When you look at bands like this on Wikipedia, it's just called Canadian rock band. So whatever genre that is, Canadian rock band. But I mean, this is the bassist Spider. He's got his fist clenched up like he's ready to go, but I don't know. He's like 60 now. But yeah, these guys are not of the same stripe as a Ronnie Van Zant or the Greg and Dwayne Allman combo, or some of these guys. Like, they just grew up in either abject poverty or very, very humble beginnings, or at least modest beginnings. Let's put it that way. Someone like Ronnie Van Zant, to the rest of his bandmates, he kind of adopted this role of a father to them. He was teaching them how to drive and help them get their driver's licenses, and being a mentor to them. Like they really looked up to him. Like he had the street smarts. He could fight. He could drink. He could party. He could show them how to work, and work they did. And it's like there's a story behind a lot of these acts that you just don't see with the Jeff Becks. And this isn't to slam any of those English artists, but I really see something special and distinctive about the Southern rock, and even the American blues rock, through Aerosmith and ZZ Top. And I guess ZZ Top would be Southern rock as well, but a lot of what came out in the mid '70s in America. There's no one big super group, but it's like collectively there's this sound that just screams Americana. Well, it's not screams, it wails. There's a wailing tone to it, and that's what captures. There's something on my heartstrings that resonates with that, and so I just wanted to throw that out there as an observation as to why I value that genre so much. It's because it's so identifiable to the common man, to the disenchanted, the disenfranchised, the heartbroken. And so yeah, I'm going back and listening to a bunch of it. Like it's hard for me to look into a lot of new sounds because some of these old bands, like I've said, they're being immortalized on YouTube with live performances that you can check out, and it is just amazing what the audiophile music lover can come across. So on that note too, kind of leapfrogging off what I was talking about with the Black Sabbaths last week, was listening to some Ozzy Osbourne interviews this week. And man, that guy has had a life. Go back and listen to, go find some of those deep archive, from the mid to late '80s, early '90s. That's some wild storytelling that Ozzy's got. I mean, I'm sure he's got stories to this day, but there's some amazing stuff, and it's like those guys too. It's not to put them on a pedestal, but those guys seem to know what the struggle was, and Ozzy is, his own testimony as his doctor. I mean, you look at some of those interviews, he's barely coherent, barely conscious. But yeah, the heartbreak of being multi mega successful recording artists and getting screwed by their management team, that they were making a pittance, and really those guys had no business being anywhere near a recording contract and a pen. Like, their major priority, apart from making music, was to play pranks on each other, to the degree that Bill Ward, the drummer, it's like he was victimized by these guys that, whether it was setting his beard on fire or any number of things. Like, he was literally hospitalized because they just made such a big priority of playing pranks on each other. It didn't matter how badly injured they got or what. It's just completely juvenile, degenerate behavior. But yeah, they weren't business people. They were just a bunch of, I don't know, idiots. What do you say to that? It's entertainment, it's show business, I guess. So yeah, I just wanted to add that little part in there, that I guess I am becoming somewhat of a music historian the more I do this kind of content, and I enjoy doing this kind of content. It's something, like I say, music is so integrated into my consciousness or my soul or my being, that I'm trying to reverse engineer. Is like, why is this so important? Why is some of this stuff strike me so powerfully? And so hopefully maybe that inspires you guys too to look deeper into what. But yeah, just shouting out bands that are just coming. Whether it's the Grateful Dead. Oh yeah, I remember what I wanted to say about Freebird. Freebird. Uh, and their live performances anyway, dedicated as a memorial to Dwayne Allman, as well as just from the Allman Brothers Band. So it's like that song itself had meaning and connection to them, and pointed towards greatness in life, but great sorrow. Stevie Ray Vaughan, I was going to mention. That's another one. Like, very, very rough upbringing. I think we discussed Jimi Hendrix. Like, he had traumatic upbringing. But yeah, just start with Wikipedia. Look at some of the artists. Look at their bio, and use that as a leapfrog to deeper into looking at the lives of some of these incredible artists. Jeff Healey was another great American blues dude. He kind of came later on. It wasn't so much late '60s, early blues rock, but Black Oak, Arkansas is one I consider there. We mentioned Charlie Daniels' band on this channel before. And so it's yeah, like I said, I think last week, like I'm a sucker for a good story. And part of this channel is telling my story and finding out your stories. And some of these Southern rock artists, I mean, they've got stories. It's not that the British artists don't have stories. They've got some interesting stories too. But I identify with that American sound that came out of the South. It's I've traveled through some of those areas. Like I've seen the poor, I've seen the poverty. Like not so much the getting right in there on the streets, but as a truck driver, I've driven through like the Smoky Mountains and the Black Hills, and like it's some pretty wild stuff, you know, the way people live. Like we've got our economically depressed areas here in Canada as well, but yeah, I guess what actually sparked off this thing in my imagination was Buddy Bow. He was doing a live stream the other day, whether it was today Saturday, I think it was Friday morning, where someone was doing an IRL live stream about street people, you know, with drug addictions, whether it's crack and alcohol, are kind of the combination that was being focused on, and just seeing these shattered lives. And I guess what closes the circle for me is a lot of this music and the artists. In a way, they're taking us towards a reality that we want in our lives, but they're also reflecting reality. And the bluesmen of old, you know, in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and on, you know, they were reflecting their experience, and then through the early 60s, mid late 60s, and on, you know, 70s, you know, these people were reflecting their life experience and their reality, and a little bit of what they wanted to see, you know, post World War II, post Vietnam War America. And through the 80s and 90s, the shift turned to a more heavy, real angrier sound, you know, that came after punk. And I've spoken on this before, where rap and hip hop really started to inject a dangerous element into what was cool. Whereas for me, what was cool in the 80s and 90s, and it was that bad boy lifestyle, but it was just mostly an act, I think. I think some guys like Ozzy Osbourne and Motley Crue and all those, you know, those hair metal bands of the 80s and on, they maybe got caught up in it, but it's sort of, that's nowhere to be found now. That party lifestyle. People don't party like that anymore. Back then, I partied for the joy of it, for the hope of the next party, I guess. Maybe it was a vicious circle, but it was enjoyable. And now it's like people don't get together and party like that anymore. It's different. It's different. I mean, I don't consume substances in the way I used to. It's caffeine and raw milk for me now. But with that, I think we'll kind of not cut it here, but for those that are, you guys take over as we transition to what we can be talking about next. But I'll see how far back I can go in the chats. Okay, I can go right back to the beginning. So give me a minute to catch up with your chats and see if there's any questions. Mic number 2 is here. It's funny, mic number 1 and mic number 2. But yeah, if you have kind of questions or comments that can carry on a conversation about this music mentality. This live stream will be added to the music mentality playlist, which I renamed. I threw that out there last week. That I had called that playlist the music episodes, but that sounded gay, so I settled on this week music mentality. So that's all my old videos with music content. Ozzy for sure, no disrespect to Ronnie. Yeah, it's not even a matter of disrespect, but it seemed fairly unanimous that Ozzy was the way to go, and I conclusively decided that that's the end of the discussion. You know, I was the other day or this morning. It's like, why doesn't YouTube have a way that you could shrink the video player and increase the chat without throwing everything out of whack? I know some of you are watching on phones, but you should be able to size your little boxes here. Thumbs down from what's the matter you, so I guess I didn't do a good job here. Just catching up with your chats. Just talk amongst yourselves. Pete Green died recently. Put out some great stuff. Name sounds familiar. You guys are gonna have to just. Angus only knows 3 different notes. Yeah. It's the only 3 notes you need. Haven't seen Devil's Rejects. I mean, I did see the more recent film, what is it called, The Kingsman, with that fight scene in the church with Freebird going. That was pretty wild. Good selection there. What are you talking about? I'm assuming What's the Matter is still talking about AC/DC. Yeah, I mean, I get it. This channel is appealing to people of a certain age demographic. If there's millennials and Gen Zers, and I don't expect any alphas to be checking this stuff out. So it's I'm preaching to the choir, as they say. Flirting with disaster. Are you talking about this man? What's the matter? This was the original Alice Cooper band. This was Street Heart, Soft Boys, and this was Molly Hatchet, the Thugs, and Southern Rock, Molly Hatchet. Spalding Sid, Rufus Firefly. Yeah, I don't get any of those references. Jody, you're going to have to help me out on that. Dregs are prog country. Okay. Canadian bands, second rate. Sang the Titanic, Celine Dion. Dwight Yoakam. I know of Dwight Yoakam. What do I need to know about Dwight Yoakam? House of a Thousand Corpses. You guys just shouting out artists now. Do a retro on horror movies. Actually, I wasn't very much a horror movie fan, but the Alice Cooper Band and is taking horror and putting it into a live performance. That was kind of their shtick or their gimmick, and it came through in their studio releases as well as their live show, the performances. I mean, Ozzy carried that on through to his solo career, and so there's something about, I guess, that horror side of music that I can appreciate, but I shouldn't say never. Horror films were a little too much for me, a little too intense. But with the music, it's like you knew it was a gimmick. You knew you were safe. With horror films, it's sort of some of the stuff was traumatizing. Even as a little kid, I shouldn't have been watching some of the horror films that I saw as an early child. So I was never that much of a fan of the film genre of horror, but horror through music, it's like there's something there too that resonates with me. But it's more because I guess I'm a chicken in that sense, and that I know that I can just pull the needle off the record if it gets too scary. But it's like there was something about these bands, whether it was Alice Cooper Band or Alice Cooper as a solo artist. It's like you knew that was part of their humor, you know. And I've said in other streams or videos, like Alice, his approach to his music, his art was always over. I guess the overarching motivation was to be in show business. He's an entertainer, and like he's still like, if you look on YouTube, there's all these live performances where he's just doing little theaters and little rooms and little clubs and you know, at a country club or some music festival, or like just these small venues, but he's up there night after night. You know, it's not world tours, but he just loves being in show business, and his wife is up there on stage with him. Like that's in his blood, just to be in front of people performing. And so yeah, his shtick was, you know, he had what was it, the Hollywood Vampires they were called, you know, with Johnny Depp and Slash. Like it was just this whole thing. Kiss kind of exemplified. It was more of a comic book way, but Kiss had that horror thing going on with the demon and just the spectacle and the show, and so there were other acts. So yeah, I can do a little retrospective on the horror aspect of this and a music mentality special event. Well, yeah, that's something. I I want to avoid and I've actually been avoiding watching Andy Edwards videos this week because I didn't want to get triggered by another one of his videos. I don't want to turn this into strictly an Andy Edwards reaction channel, but he's got great content. It's just I couldn't let that top 10 rock in his bands go by without getting my 2 cents worth. Alice, Rob Zombie, Hank Williams, Corey Feldman. Rob Zombie films best. Okay. Bring it back to country rock. Well, I'm kind of done. So the music. I don't know where to go from here. I kind of fired all my shots already. As far as country rock, what do you have in mind there, Mike? I didn't do any research on the country rock. At least not for this video. I can address it somewhat. The 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 country sound is part of what I grew up with. My parents were country music fans, or at least that's what we listened to in the car on family drives or road trips or whatever. It was always the radio with the top 40 country, and it was Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers back in the day, Juice Newton, the Oak Ridge Boys, Alabama, Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, like all the big names, right? Tammy Wynette. And so, when the Dwight Yoakams and the Billy Ray Cyruses came on the scene, and what's his name? The big, holy smokes. The stuff that came out, mid 90s. I I really couldn't listen to that. It it was it was too much rock and roll and not enough country, if that makes any sense. Whereas I love listening to Johnny Cash, even now. Oh yeah, another shout out I forgot in the kind of the southern rock genre. Creedence Clearwater Revival. Not too not too familiar with those guys' backgrounds. I didn't really do any research, but they kind of helped bring America out of that Vietnam War era and into the 70s, into a brave new world, if you will. Joe Walsh had that blues sound. Mind you, he was from Cleveland or something, Ohio boy, but very very much a blues guitarist, blues rock guitarist. ZZ Top, yeah, Billy Gibbons and Dusty, they got that sound. And so it's like, yeah, there's something. It's like Andy was referring back to Andy Edwards, like he's got the top 10 lists of this band, this band, this band, and they're all just with the American sound, the Americana. It's almost like that. It's a collective consciousness, and it goes back to that. Let's see. Let me just look up that. video I'm referring to. I can even post the link. If you've never seen this version, I think I've put the link in the description of other videos. Let me just check it out. Marshall Tucker is another one I forgot to mention. Oh yeah, are those guys kind of the Outlaws? I mean, I just love that sound, man. The Almonds, like it was like this blue that vibe that they created. It was at the Nebworth Festival that Leonard Skinner in August 21st. And what I'll do, I'll post that link in the chat. I'm sure many of you guys have seen this, but for those of you who may be tuning in after the live event and you've never heard of Leonard Skinner before, but you have heard of the Rolling Stones, you need to take in this performance of Freebird. It is one of those kind of spine-chilling. The extra significance is just a few months later would be the plane crash. And so this is when, again, Leonard Skinner pretty much upstaged the Rolling Stones with home field advantage. Okay, that's that Leonard Skinner link if anybody's interested. Yeah, Stevie Ray Vaughan's brother was involved in some good music making back in the day. Let's see. So North Carolina, he's got all the tracks. I consider Ted Nugent kind of one of those blues rock guitarists that I don't know if he captured the southern sound so much, but he's one that I highly esteem. North Carolina with the bad vision, although it's my glasses. I need to get my prescription updated. What's the matter? Loves crack and alcohol? Okay. What do you love about it? Sight is almost gone. That sucks. Smoking a beer. Yeah, that used to be my thing. See, I'm just raw dogging it. Graham Parsons, Dylan. Yeah, I guess what was Dylan? Folk singer. What was his thing? He wasn't really a blues man, was he? I was gonna look into Bob Dylan. Um, I know he's crazy influential in that, from Andy Edwards' standpoint, the term he uses is Bob Dylan democratized the music industry. And the way I interpret that or see that is, climbed up on a stool in a club with his acoustic guitar and started singing his poetry. And there was a hunger for that, and it caught on. And that kind of demonstrated that this is accessible to anybody. Now, I believe there's a story behind Bob Dylan. I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to get into too much controversy as far as what may or may have happened with that music career, but I was never a Dylan fan, but I understand the influence he had on music and the music industry that came after him. Graham Parsons, I still haven't gotten into Graham Parsons. Scott Glenn and Wes Hightower. Yeah, I guess I'm just gonna have to go back and start googling all these names. Connie Houston from Urban Cowboy. Flying Burrito Brothers. Whole Country Rock. Okay. Yeah, well, the 80s when I was a teenager, so. Oh, you old people in the chat here. Oh, wait. That's right. I knew you were all. Rob Zombie. Okay, I think I'm almost caught. Corey Feldman. I don't know if I've heard a single Corey Feldman song. I'm a little familiar with his story and the controversy and what he went through in Hollywood. Well, there you go. I guess I'll have to ponder this for a little while and come up with another music mentality segment. I think that's it for this week on the music portion of our program. And so those of you that are here for music content, you can either turn the video off now or continue listening as we move into other topics. Do a retro on the Western Series Gunsmoke. No, that's not going to happen. Yeah, we're not going to be doing television show reviews unless it's SCTV, I guess. Ask about Mike number one, I guess. Ask Mike number one about SCTV. But anyways, what else has been going on this week? Yeah, okay. Well, I guess I could talk a little bit more music-y stuff. Last week, when I was doing the AC/DC free uh, controversy, I don't even know what you call it, but I used a couple of clips from YouTube to illustrate my point. And then I used the Wikipedia pages and their YouTube channels, both bands respectively, just to be as objective as I could. And my video was blocked. For those of you that were here, I started off with part one, and then the feed just, or the live stream just ended. I don't know if my internet connection was too slow or what was going on, but it just ended. So part one, I was kind of setting the table for where I wanted to go, and then I picked up in part two, and that's how I've got it on the channel with the live streams and on the Music Mentality playlist. In part two, that's where I showed a couple of YouTube clips of the songs that were kind of in question or that were mentioned in Andy Edwards' original video. And I've got the link. I think I put the link to Edwards' video, the top 10 rockinest bands, or that rock the hardest, 10 bands that rock the hardest. And because I didn't want it just to be, well, this is the way I feel about it. I wanted some data, something to back me up. So I used Wikipedia and YouTube. And AC/DC on their YouTube page, they've got billions of views. Billions. I mean, you can go anywhere on this planet and they've heard of AC/DC. Free, I mean, we're not going to rehash the whole discussion, but as far as that goes, like, just the whole premise, but in any case, the rights holders to AC/DC blocked my video because of it wasn't even a minute long segment, and Dad made a point earlier in the week. It's like, how come I can go buy an album and play it for my friends and talk about it, but I can't do that with a YouTube clip? Like, that's utter nonsense. And I agree. I think in the digital age, and especially with AI coming up, the idea of intellectual property and copyright law, it's gonna undergo a shift. Like, what we've got, what, 6 said and done, and this needs to be blocked for what reason? Like, it just makes no sense. And so yeah, free. I guess the rights holders to the free content, they also flagged my content for copyright, but they didn't block it. But the AC/DC right holder, which I think is Sony, they actually blocked the video, so you couldn't watch it. So it wasn't a copyright strike. So I just wanted to explain this. The video was blocked, so you couldn't see it, but it was still up on my page. And then I had the opportunity to dispute the content that was in question, and it was through fair use that I disputed it. So the copyright holder, during the dispute, has the opportunity to review what I wrote to them, my reasoning for why I used their clip, and in the interim, while it's under dispute, it's still visible. So as of right now, you can go back and look at that whole content unblocked, as far as I know. If it comes back that Sony Music, or whoever the rights holder is, rejects my dispute, I could challenge their copyright claim, but that could result in a strike, which with YouTube is like 3 strikes. But at this point, it's Snapchat level. So the video is unblocked. It comes back and they say, no, we don't want you using it. I'll just clip that live portion of Let There Be Rock, and I may as well clip the free portion as well. But it's kind of ridiculous that you know, billions and billions of views and you know, less than 60 seconds on a channel with a couple hundred subscribers, and you know, what do we got? 8 concurrent viewers right now. And again, maybe 50 people will watch this. It just boggles the mind. Like, what is that? Is that just greed, or like what? You guys tell me. I think that's utterly preposterous. Like, egregious. Totally egregious. But that's the story behind that. So yeah, if people are that grabby about their music, fine. I don't need to do music reviews. It's almost not worth the trouble to do music reviews if you're gonna run into blocked videos continually. Like just right there, that's too much effort for me. I know it might be better content for you guys, so I kind of want to balance, you know, how much do I want to be a people pleaser to the audience versus just getting up here and talking about stuff. 50's not so bad. Like number 2, 67.5. That's a whole nother ball of wax. I think you really start slowing down after 40, and that's it. It's not you're done, but after 40, that's when you notice. I like getting old because I don't give a shit anymore. It's not that I don't give a shit about anything, but I don't care what people think at this point. Good night, Mike number 2. Thank you for coming. Good night, good night. We'll see you next time. And so yeah, just had a few more thoughts. Music gets better the second time it comes around. I'm just encouraged seeing guys like Alice Cooper and the Black Sabbaths and some of these acts. They just keep going. You know, maybe, and I brought this up a while ago, maybe the acts like Aerosmith and Kiss that, you know, they're doing the on one hand it's for the fans, but on the other hand, is it for the money? I don't know. You know, with the Vegas venue for Aerosmith, the Aerosmith show hotel, I think they've shut that down now. The Kiss cruises, you know, it just, at a certain point, do people really want to see you united where before you were filling stadiums? I don't know. But the idea of reunion concerts and reunion albums, you know, the original Alice Cooper band forming, like these guys still want to do it. I think it's great, you know, just seeing that they still have some life in them. A lot of these artists, yeah, I guess that would be another video, you know, artists that performed right up into their last breath. That would be an interesting one. You know, because I did the artists that died too soon, the top 10, but the artists that, yeah, I almost said it, but the ones that, hey, how's it going, Jethro? Larata, Mr. Osgood, you finally made it. Go back to the beginning, watch it 2 times speed. The music portion is done. We're moving on to other stuff. We're moving on to Larata content any second now. But But yeah, some of these guys, like, it's not that they should have retired or given up years ago, but it's sort of like they just, it's in their blood, and they're not going to stop. You know, they can't stop. But yeah, that's kind of a good segue there, Mr. Miller. You know what? I had you guys on top chat too. I don't think any of you guys are blocked or affected by that. But yeah, I wanted to shout out. I'm doing this on the iPhone today because I don't have any screen shares, but there's a couple of links I wanted to add in the chat here, and I'll probably stick in the description afterwards. Let's just get the chat going here. So I'll look down, but yeah, my eyes are not what they used to be either. Let's do some of this. Let's do this. Nope. Let's try this. Let's give it a second, fellas, ladies and gentlemen. Come on. All right, here it is. Oh, where'd you guys go? You on your way out, Dad? Anyways, big shout out to Lackluster, who covered the clash with Bao Nguyen arrest last week. I just put the link in the chat to Lackluster's video that he did earlier this week. As some of you know, Bao was arrested trying to cover the Karen Reed shit show like a week and a half ago, almost 2 weeks ago. And he was released, you know, after a night in jail, but there's legal issues going on there. So there was a GoFundMe campaign set up, and I want to put that link in the chat as well. So this is kind of carry on with the fundraiser. Have a good night, Mike. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. This is the GoFundMe link. And so, yeah, that GoFundMe, it jumped from, oh, it's even gone up since this afternoon. When did he start it? Like last weekend or something? Last Saturday, Friday, Saturday. And like as of Monday morning, he had like 9% or something. When did Lackluster's video come out? Maybe Thursday or something? And so the fundraiser is for $6,500 for a lawyer for his criminal defense for the charges he got for trespassing and disorderly, which are, again, phony baloney charges. He was he was charged by Blue M Bison, Mike Hardman, and so it was $6,500 to raise for his lawyer to write on some pieces of paper to give to the black robe crossdresser and help him with this criminal charges. But he's up to 54%, $3,500, over $3,500 raised as of. So that's great. I mean, I'm sure Bao is starting to feel a little more relieved. The court date, I believe, is like another month and a half away, possibly. He's not saying a lot about it, and that's okay. Doesn't need to, but then those of you that are watching the story know that the DUI guy, Larry Foreman, is going to help him with the civil side of things. But yeah, Lackluster's video really made a difference. I mean, what's Lackluster got? 1.5 million subscribers or something? 143,000 views in a couple of days. I mean, that's great. That's what Bao needed. Bao acknowledged he's pissed off a lot of people on the YouTubes, and so if people don't want to help him, he totally gets it. But Lackluster, I haven't watched a lot of Lackluster's content, but I'm subscribed. There is just so much content out there in kind of this cop watching, accountability, First Amendment, Second Amendment realm. I don't watch a lot of it as a rule anymore. It's too much. I'm more interested in the YouTube drama and the just the silliness, because I need the laughs. The police accountability and government accountability stuff, it makes me ill. Like, it gives me this, you know. And there's times in your life when you need to feel that. But, and what it comes down to is, I heard another podcaster, broadcaster, YouTubester. It comes down to having a cry, like you recognize injustice when you see it, and there's like this cry for the disenfranchised, the downtrodden. When injustice is all around them, you almost can't help but respond, and so people in Canada are following suit with what really seems to be a movement started in the States with the cop watching and you know, going deeper on the government accountability side, you know, with with a lot of body cam footage that's released now, and public records requests, and so people are attacking this beast from all manner of angles. And Bao, back in the day, like he had this auditing style, if you want to call it auditing, live streams where you just go engage with government officials or cops or just people on the streets or protesters, what have you. And so you go to Smurf Watch Transparency and the main channel Clash with Bao, you'll get a taste of what he's all about. And I've been finding on YouTube, like I found Bao through James Freeman, some of his older videos, and immediately I could see like the combination of Bao's personality and his background and the humor, the element of humor that he brings into it. It's such a combination of skills and attributes that suit him for this kind of thing. But again, going back a week and a half ago, I don't know if it was a lack of situational awareness or he went outside when he should have stayed inside. I don't know what it was. I kind of wasn't expecting him to show up in Boston there for the Karen Reed stuff, but it went sideways really fast, and it seemed like he wasn't expecting that at all. And so now he's not going outside anymore, because bad things happen when you go outside, at least for Bao. But in any case, I'm really pleased to see that people are stepping up and helping out. I did my little part, and so yeah, we're shouting out. Join the fundraiser. Check out the lackluster video. He does kind of a complete analysis. He goes and talks about the Karen Reed story a little bit before he gets to the bad arrest of Bao. So check it out. You could always scroll through and find the part that goes right to Bao, because the Karen Reed stuff, it doesn't really interest me much, other than what Bao has been covering is the protesters and the beefs, and he said I'm here to cover the Turtle Boy and what's her name, Kate. What's Kate's last name? Hey, Chow Chow, welcome in, welcome in. Kate, not Karen, Kate and Reed. Yeah, the whole Karen Reed story is it's kind of taken the country by storm. There's even guys up in Canada covering it. I think I mentioned Ian Runkle that has a YouTube channel. He's a criminal defense attorney specializing in firearms in Calgary. He's been covering that Karen Reed stuff for almost as long as it's been going on. He's right into it, and he knows all the stuff with the Turtle Boy and Aiden. So any number of different content creators are covering this stuff. I just don't I don't get it. Justice for Karen, or honk for justice because she's white. I mean, that trolling video the other day with Picard. What was his name, or what's his YouTube handle? I forgot. That was pretty priceless. Professional troll or something. Professional. What was it called? What's his channel called? Yeah, what's the matter? We got everybody here. All the cool people hang out on this channel. But yeah, the whole Karen Reed shit show. Bao has been covering it just because of the IRL drama that's going on. It's not about Karen, but so you kind of got caught up in it, and I've been going and looking through some of the old live streams. It's interesting seeing it from Bao's perspective, because he's not covering the trial. He's covering his take on it, like the whole circus, the whole event, the whole mess, he's termed it the shit show. So there's something to that, and so I'm glad to see that. Oh, hey, Reluctant Prophet, welcome in, welcome in. We were wondering where you were. Just giving some shout outs and some love to Lackluster, and bringing up the Clash with Bao fundraiser, which we are pleased to announce is over 50% funded. So I think that's really cool. And now that Reluctant is here, I want to make a quick shout out to the Lane Myers situation. Maybe RP has more insight on that, but from what I can determine this week, Lane is on his own, pro se. William Parvin has got punted out of there. Strategically, is that going to help Lane at this point? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know what to say about it anymore. I guess the May 1st dealio, that date came and went as far as Matt, the legal loser Walker's petition to the Arizona Supreme Court. So people that responded to that, right on. I think Reluctant Prophet, you're still in contact with Lane in jail, so you would I kind of refer people to you to get kind of the latest on what's developing there. But as far as I can tell, my app doesn't work. So he does have some advisory council, and it is that lawyer that he shouted out, Resnick. So that that seems to be a positive development. At least that's what Lane wanted. As far as how to help Lane, at this point, like he's pro se, like he doesn't have legal expenses per se. I know there's a Give Send Go fundraiser for legal defense and expenses, but like technically, does he have legal expenses? Close the app completely and then reopen it? I feel like I've kind of done that, but I don't know. I'll give it another try. That GTL or that Getting Out app. Lane said he got my message. All right. Just the original 400. All right. Well, whatever. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. Yeah, I don't really have anything to add to or to communicate directly with Lane, but that's good to know. I am unable to determine that messages are getting sent. It seems like they're just getting booted out. So, and I'm streaming on the phone that I can look that up. I don't have that app on the other phone, but yeah. So his legal expenses were the original 400, I guess, for different filings, but until it gets to kind of the civil lawsuit side of things, that's when the need for paying court fees and stuff will arise. But for his criminal charges, as these felonies and misdemeanors, like I'm not saying don't give to Lane, but I think there's maybe a better way to get money to him and his wife to cover their living expenses, whether there's Cash App or PayPal or Venmo. But the Give Send Go, I know like there's a specific legal defense fund, and I saw there's a few $1,000 in that to date. But he's kind of like at the point where it's the Lane Myers show now. Like it's just the immovable object against the irresistible force, and see who will prevail. So. Yeah, so this is the public service has been covering Lane's stuff. I've been covering it a bit. Jason Zwok, I believe is the proper pronunciation. He's been giving his take. I like his perspective. I'm not saying I agree with all of his analysis, but he's got like this attention to detail where he's going through the documents. I don't have the time or the patience to do that. But like he's uncovering connections and things, and I've commented on some of his videos, how that's relevant or pertinent, and he's bringing something to the discussion most certainly that I really appreciate. Jason's stuff. Reluctant Prophet is doing his part, keeping us up to date, streaming the court hearings, whether it's just the audio or whatever the Pima County court is streaming at any given time. But yeah, it's a matter, is there going to be another judge? Are these motions going to be given the respect they deserve? It seems like they're just kind of yanking on Lane's chain, and they kind of know how to push his buttons, and that's unfortunately I don't have advice. I don't want to be a downer here, but it's like this either all gets thrown out because on the face of it, it's just procedural gobbledygook that they're throwing at him, right? And my feeling is they're going to drop those felony grand jury indictments. And if that happens, like that kind of invalidates his whole incarceration up to this point. And so I think they're just trying to punish him, like keep him in there as long as they possibly can. Because those felony charges, those seem very egregious, if you will, or very malicious in their prosecutorial merit. That's my opinion. But whether you look at Jason Zwock or this is a public service, everybody's kind of attacking it from the different angles. But we're not able to hear from Lane directly at this point to understand like what his strategy is, what he's going through. So guys like Reluctant Prophet that kind of have more of a direct channel to Lane, they might be able to shed more light on this. So by all means, check out. Let's put some links up here to some of these guys. Just give me a second. I gotta shut some tabs down here because my browser is in the buffer zone and it's getting slower and slower. That's my awful Boston accent. You gotta stay out of that buffer zone. Okay, here's I think most of you already know Reluctant Prophet. He's got his own dealio going on with the Pima County. We transferred from the Karen Reed shit show to the Pima County shit show here. So just so you're keeping score. Let's see. Okay, so he's willing to speak with Resnick so that he can determine whether or not he should file a motion for a new judge or not. That also leaves his motion for a bond hearing in question because he only gets one chance at it. Yeah, it's like priority one is to get out of that cage, man. And there's Reluctant Prophets. If you're not familiar with Mark Kelly, he's got a story. It's connected to Mr. Gold, and you've been appearing on Michael Eline's channel live streams. So Michael Eline is another one who's weighed in on the Lane Myers shit show debacle, procedural mess. Running out of ways to describe it. It's like it just seems like such injustice, and it's like the legal system doesn't have the ability. I made a comment in a Friends and Codes stream last night. It's like I forget what it was. The legal system can't or won't comprehend trolling, and that's a problem because trolling. I mean, I use that word in a specific sense in that it's responding in an abrasive, pointing way, but it's in a loving and often humorous way, where it's not just being a hater. Like there's a different, haters have been on this channel, and it's sort of like you're not contributing to the discussion. You're just vomiting in the chat, and that's not helpful. Whereas trolling, it's like it's meant to get you to stop and think, to freeze in your tracks and like analyze. Is what this guy's saying to get your attention, and that's what I've been saying, or that's what's appealed. For me, it's appealed, or Lane's approach has appealed to me in that he's like weaponized trolling using YouTube and social media to make people stop and think, and it's like they won't stop and think. They just no, this is threatening behavior, this is harassment, this is that. It's like no, you can't turn trolling free speech into threatening behavior. Like it's been demonstrated over and over that this is just not the correct way to do it. And I'm just looking at the live timer here. Okay, I guess that's in minutes. So we've been going, what, an hour and a half or so? Judge is screwing you now. So yeah, wait for more updates on that. More BS. And yeah, I've made this point, like, in technical terms, when it comes to communication, language and speech, there's three elements that typically are foundational, and it's logic, grammar, and rhetoric. And in the legal system, they've thrown the logic, which in layman's term is common sense. That's out. That's not part of the discussion. That's not part of their method of communication. And then they've taken the grammar and twisted it and made their own grammar, their legalese, so that plain words that you and I understand take on a different meaning in their language. And lawyers are word nerds in that sense, and Lane is a word nerd in that he's fluent in that legalese. But in the realm of procedure and rules of procedure, criminal procedure, civil procedure, it's all rhetoric. It's like, you need to stand when addressing the judge. Well, what for? You can't talk to the party because of decorum. You can't say certain things. You can't have a device recording the proceedings because reasons. It's all about rhetoric. It's not based on any common sense or logic. It's just rules because. And that's kind of the scam. There's that magic, yeah, the spell casting, it's there, but it's like when you remove the logic, I guess maybe that's it. You remove the logic and all you're left with is magic. You may have something there, Mr. Osgood. Like it again, I've spent almost a couple of decades trying to not figure this out, but trying to dissect this animal. It's like, what is it about our legal system that is failing us? It seems to be completely failing us. The justice system is not providing a true form of justice. And I'm hesitant to go here, but it's sort of my background, for the last couple of decades has been from a Western Christian standpoint. And in that regard too, I've kind of figured out in the last couple of weeks what denomination I belong to. And that's pretty much the Christian cowboy denomination, which is, very, very simple in its ideology or its doctrine, which is, essentially boils down to, love God, love your neighbors, at least the ones that aren't trying to kill you, and be kind to animals. Like that's, you can kind of about it. And all the other stuff is kind of can be theological magic, rhetoric, and incoherent babble. So I'm fluent in all that incoherent Christianese and the babble, but it's like there is a spiritual side to some of this as well. Whether it's the Freemasonry or the Luciferian doctrine or what have you, but there's something spiritual about people that are haters, that they just hate Lane Myers, or they just hate Bao, or they just want to see him in jail because I just don't like him, or there's this perception they did me bad because they just don't like the way he acts and looks or talks, or there's something spiritually off about a person that wants to see another human being caged just because they don't like him. Like there's something really, I'm going to use the word evil about that. there's no justice in that. You know, if I had the power to just throw people in a cage that I didn't like their look, you know, lots of you would be in jail right now. And that's not the way the justice system works. And yeah, I'm obviously Jesus. I'm a Trinitarian. I could prove that using my Bible, I guess. But Jesus is Lord. That is part of my confession. I don't hold to any, say, Westminster Confession of Faith or various creeds throughout Christendom. But sorry, dogs are just barking their faces off. But yeah, it's sort of we have a way of complicating that faith, but there is such a thing as evil, and Matt and Shannon Walker conspiring against people. It hasn't just been Lane Myers. It's been others in the past that you know, they kind of get the 1-2 punch between the prosecutor's office and whatever's going on at the law school there at the University of Arizona. And so I don't want to get right into kind of my feelings on the spiritual stuff, but we may eventually start treading on that ground. As far as trying to piece together what exactly is happening. And you guys get it. I mean, yeah, it's the just us system. Like Mike number 2, which is North Carolina Rail. I don't know much about the court system. Yeah, you're not. It's not intended for us to know about it. And guys like Lane Myers are helping peel back the curtain on this stuff. And Lane's not the only one. There's people I've been following for years. I did a video about this in kind of my foundational series for this channel, which was called Standing on the Shoulders of Giants, where I did a video called I Fought the Law, and it talks about my journey through the internet lawyers and the people that were thinking through this stuff, whether it was the sovereign citizens or the free man on the land movement or any number of people giving a law perspective on like what exactly is going on, you know, because Western jurisprudence, going back to the Magna Carta, it is not reflected in our modern legal system. It's the separation of powers in our governmental systems. It's not reflective on that system of British or English common law that goes back to foundational concepts that were enshrined in your American Constitution. The founding fathers had lots to say about this. That jurisprudence, you know, it led to the end of the slave trade through the 17th and 18th centuries, or I guess it would have been the 19th century in America anyway, and Britain, you know, with was it William Wilberforce that was the champion back then? I mean, you almost have to be a polymath, you know, have a deep understanding of history, law, culture, Western civilization, a little bit of religion, like the trivium, the quadrivium, you know, going back to the origins of Western civilization, of Western thought. It's more than just you know, the judge is a tyrant or these cops are pigs, which they are. Like they're not there to serve and protect, but it's like there is something deeply spiritual at the root of this, and it's more than just saying it's Satan or it's evil or there's the secular view too. You know, it's secular philosophers have played with these ideas. Oh, I got my books on the shelf there. I'm not going to inundate you with a bunch of information, but this is more of a discussion. But Dad says the Common Dictionary, the Vulgate, is different than a medical or Black's Law. This is a layer or filter meant to secularize our language and control it. Yeah, that's said that just before I read your whole message or your whole comment there. Because yeah, when you take God out of the equation, really anything goes. It becomes very subjective, or you get situational ethics there. There's no foundation of truth. There's no such thing as objective truth at that point. And so yeah, you need like this background in philosophy and logic and all these things I discussed. Because the politicians, the people in government, and the drones that work in government, like they don't employ logic and common sense in their day-to-day. They know that rhetoric works, and I mean it's very powerful, but that's not the basis how you want people to engage socially and culturally and to make your society, because it's got electrolytes. So I'm just going to look back in the comments, see what's going on. So RP says Shannon admitted in the injunction hearing that her and Matt worked together. Yeah, Jason Zwack has been covering that. And in disclosure, there's emails from Shannon about a project they were working on together in August of 24, which was last year, which is when all this shit started to hit the fan. They 100% don't want a trial. So what is the Stanford prison? What is the strategy to get him to plead out? Stanford prison experiment. I've mentioned that a few times on this channel. That's the one where at Stanford University they took a select group. This was a psychological experiment. This was, I forget the number of students, 30 students, maybe more, and they split them into two groups, prisoners and guards. Essentially, it was just arbitrarily, randomly selected, but the group of 30 or whatever the number was, they were chosen specifically because they were upstanding, socially well-adjusted, mentally fit, astute. Like they were solid students. Like they weren't these tweakers. They didn't have like various impediments to judgment and whatnot. They were like the cream of the crop of those they selected for this experiment as far as being psychologically well adjusted to modern living. And the results were that those that were given the badge of authority quickly learned to mistreat those that they had authority over, the prisoner group. And I forget if it was half and half how they split it down the percentage, but they had to stop the experiment because there was a risk that there was going to be serious bodily harm experienced as a result of the abuse that the prisoner group in the study were being subject to as a result of the authoritarianism that the guards or the prison staff, I forget what they labeled them, but the guards ended up becoming just complete authoritarianism, and that was kind of a surprising result. And so the experiment was cut short after only a short amount of time, maybe a matter of days, when it was supposed to be at least a week-long experiment, I believe, according to, I'm just going by memory. But yeah, it's sort of it wasn't people you would normally or naturally expect to have authoritarian tendencies. Um, Mike number two, his cousin David just got out of federal prison. Um, you're saying you couldn't do prison? Mike number two, cousin was tough. William Casey, that name sounds familiar. Say, I believe it just came out recently. I could be wrong, but I was reading something about it not too long ago. Brandon says I like Jason's rock. Good night, North Carolina. Thank you for joining. Sleep, man. That is. I don't want to do a whole health thing, but sleep is almost the foundational thing as far as your body repairs itself at night, which means like you're going to bed as the sun is going down, and the sun is already set here. It's almost 10 o'clock. Sunset is just after, well, it's about 8:45 here nowadays. And I try to get to bed as early as I can. 10 o'clock is an ideal time for me to be in bed, not necessarily asleep, but your whole neurochemistry, it's all controlled through your circadian rhythms and exposure to light, and so different processes need to take place at night. And so I used to be a truck driver. I did it completely reverse. I used to drive all night and sleep all day. Somehow, I mean, I survived it, but that is not the way to live. Your body is tuned for your serotonin and melatonin. Melatonin production happens when it's dark, and you can take melatonin supplements to help you sleep, but that's not actually helping you. Your body your brain has to produce it when it needs to, and screen time that all affects melatonin production at night. I've got all incandescents in this house for the most part, so that's full spectrum light. I even throw red light on once the sun starts going down, and I've got a red light on my nightstand to help your eyes and your brain adjust. That mimics the same frequency of light that you're getting at sunset. And so your body is tuned to sleep at night. And if you're got this whack schedule or you can't sleep, that's really the first thing you need to get sorted out. Obviously, if you're building up toxins through lots of processed food and municipal water supplies, depending on how much they treat water, like your body has to process all that stuff. And our grandparents, they didn't live like that. They drank water out of the ditch or out of the ground or wherever they could find it. They had immune systems that were crazy good. They drank whole milk. They lived off of what they could forage. All this stuff that nature was providing for them. And they didn't have these environmental toxins and forever chemicals that are really an assault on our physiology. But sleep is key. So good night, Mr. North Carolina. Hope you get a good night's rest, because yeah, you don't want to be sleepless. That's gonna mess you up. Yeah, but that's key. I haven't been sporting your merch in a while. I gotta get that Pro Say Idiot ID10T Club rocking that again. I very much enjoy your videos too, but it's hard to work for a living and make videos. What's the matter? Barely sleeps? Well, we can tell you're delusional. You don't like AC/DC. No, sleep is key. It's kind of the foundation of health. And yeah, you gotta have good diet, lots of good water. Stay hydrated, exercise, sunshine, fresh air. But proper sleep is going to reduce your stress levels. I don't mean to be lecturing you guys, but this is just, I believe God created us was, specifically, we weren't meant to be nocturnal. You look at the physiology of nocturnal animals, it's completely, brain chemistry is completely different than humans. We were meant to be, our eyes open when the sun is up and eyes closed when the sun is down. And getting your, whatever it is, if you can get by on 6 hours, fine. 7, 8 hours is average. If you're going on that, at a certain point, I don't know, unless you're on some kind of regimen, but diet and exercise are almost, second from sleep. And that's when your body is healing. It's detoxifying. It's doing those things. Get your heart rate up. Get some sweat. That's how your body's going to expel some of these toxins. Don't make your liver do all the work. Your skin is an organ, and that's how you excrete a lot of toxins. Sleep from 12 to 6 if you can. Yeah, I mean, your whole thing with Richmond, they're waking you up well before most people want to be awake with their noise and construction. Like, yeah. Contractors went out on Saturday. Yeah, my profit. I mean, I and take this for what it's. You've got a successful business and a location where you're working out of, but the moved right into your backyard, and they're not going to stop. Like, they're just going to keep coming. The damage has already been done. So unless there's like a real compelling reason to stay at that property, there's an injustice going on. But you seem like you got the resources where you could set up shop in a much more favorable location. And I'm kind of in that position too. Like, there's assholes moving into my backyard. It's like, I'm not interested in fighting them. I mean, that's not the reason why I'm moving, but I could just see in the next 10, 20 years, if I stuck around here, like, it would be a real shitty neighborhood eventually. And they've already turned your neighborhood to shit. And I don't know. I would just be looking at something better to move on. So, I mean, I don't know your whole situation, but it seems like you've got the means that you could pretty much go wherever you needed to. And so that's not my advice. That's just my take. Is like, they're not going to stop. They're just going to make it worse on you. And so, for what that's worth, that's just what I see. And Yeah, I think you were saying, yeah, you're kind of setting yourself up to rent the place out. I don't know what your business aspirations are. You've got skills, you've got talents in that regard, whether you're going to keep going or what you're, whether you're going to become a professional YouTuber or a uh, media mogul at this time, start your media empire. You've got options. So fighting over, an acre of land with a bunch of neighbors that are feds and cops and informants and assholes from the city. It seems like you've got better things to do. Renting there, yeah, having a lot of shit is a pain in the ass. The injustice in your case, from what I understand, or the way I see it too, is they had it in writing that the town of Vale or Old Vale or whatever it is where you're at, they were not going to develop that parcel of land behind you, and you could pretty much take that to the bank. And so yeah, their word is definitely not as good as a pile of shit. So yeah, what do you do with that? So it's not turn tail and run, but it's sort of, when you see what's going down, it's like they're just gonna continue. Like they're clearly not people of their word, so they're not trustworthy. They have no integrity. That's what you're dealing with. So, and then the judge that just screwed you over, like you're not going to get remedy in the sense that we want to in the justice system. We've got to get justice another way. And I don't say I have the answers. But yeah, you want to reduce those stress levels, get your peace of mind back, start to, I'm not trying to peg you, but we got to be able to enjoy life, especially us old farts, But having said that, I said I had a surprise for you. So let me just put this down. Let's see, maybe you can hear it. Back around. Little plugger. Oh, there you are. Oh, you're not happy about that, eh? Oh, here we go. The latest addition to the family, Mr. Duck. Hey, say hi to everybody, Mr. Duck. Yeah, this guy was just hatched out today. I kind of wasn't expecting ducklings this early. And it was kind of from a batch of eggs that I kind of half expected weren't even viable because they were all dirty and they were sitting around for a while. But sure enough, here's the first guy to crawl out of his egg. And so he's been peeping away in the background there. Maybe you've been able to hear him, but that's the first duckling of the season. So I'll probably end up selling a bunch of ducklings, see how many I get. So. Say hello. All right. You ready to go back? See if you can get some brothers and sisters for you. So if you hear any cheeping and peeping in the background, that's just Mr. Duck. So I just got him in a Rubbermaid tub, or tote, I guess you call it. Big plastic tote with a little brooder heater in there and some water. The ducks are pretty hardy. They can go outside even when it's pretty cold, even if they don't have mama. They're not like chicks. Chicks are super fragile. Ducks are pretty hardy. So we'll see how many hatch out, and after a week they can all go outside. Whereas chicks, they gotta be at like 95 degrees Fahrenheit for a month. You know, it's crazy how much babysitting they require. But yeah, the Lane Myers shit show, the Pima County debacle. It's I don't know. I got my popcorn and I'm watching. I don't know how to participate at this point, other than continue to shout out and make awareness. There's people doing a fine job keeping us informed. Let's catch up with the chats here. When I moved onto my property 35 years ago, I said I'm never moving in. Still feel that way. And I get that there's sentimental attachment, reluctant profits, property. From what I understand, that was your parents that owned it, and you basically took it over, and so there's a history there, and you grew up there. From what I imagine, I don't know if you've kind of shared that detail, but that's what I would assume. So the place has a history for you, and that's important. But I mean, the place I'm at, I've been here 8 years. I like it, but it's not like it's grown on me. But I don't need to be here, right? But I do have a lot of crap that's going to be moved, and I'm not looking forward to that. Moving is everyone will call me to help, but when I need it, it's all on me. Yeah, I kind of see that developing. Currently moving 200 miles away from the toxic stalker neighbor. Well, you got to do what you got to do. What was that one? I wish you well, Mr. Osgood. Mark Hemmeyer comes to mind. No idea what that is. Brandon saw a duck. Jill would love it. Jill would eat it. Jill? Who's Jill? I've got one of my domesticated ducks is still here. I had two. One just disappeared. And he's a male. And then I've seen some mallards. I got kind of some marshy areas in the back of the property. So there's some ducks that were hanging out. I don't know if they're nesting. They're wild ducks. And then these they're just like a crossbreed of a few different breeds. So there's some Peking ducks and buff Orpingtons and Cayugas, just a mix of everything. So there's no purebred anything on this farm. Actually, no, I shouldn't say that. My sheep are pretty much purebred. If you have to buy at least 6 at a time. In New York, you have to buy at least 6 at a time by state law. Just get a dozen chicks. No ducks, but a puppy decided to fight with a bee. His head is huge. Yeah, stay away from the bees. Puppy. Had a crane. Yeah, we got sandhill cranes around here. And then there was actually a couple of swans that keep coming back to. There's a big quarter section field across the road from me, and in the springtime it gets a little soggy there, so there's a breeding pair of swans that come every spring. I didn't see them, but my neighbor saw them. We're just talking about whatever here now, eh? Had a crane on the pond. We used to have chickens. HOA won't let you have chickens. And that's one of your dogs. Profit buried in the backyard. It won't let you have solar panels. Yeah, I'm like always. I've always been on the edge of like that's it. I'm going off grid, solar generator, like no roads, no internet, like just screw y'all, f all y'all, right? Like I'm done. But then I always keep coming back. I don't know why. Yeah, in other news, I guess you guys are pretty much all Americans here. We just had an election on Monday, and so the prime minister meet the new boss. He's worse than the old boss, or the same if not worse than the old boss. But this has triggered a discussion that's kind of on the eastern edge of Western Canada. We have no say in federal politics. It's all the decision and the votes cast in the eastern portion of the country, which is Ontario, Quebec, and to a smaller degree Vancouver, which is on the far west coast. Those votes matter. Our votes don't matter. The elections are never decided with people who vote in the West, and so the discussion for decades has been, why is Alberta paying so much into our national system of transfer payments? You know, we pay all this money to Ottawa in Alberta. I'm in Manitoba, but we're getting sick of everybody. We're sick of being everybody's bitch, is basically the discussion. So now the talk of Western separation has begun again. And I think, you know, that's going to be quite a process. It's probably not going to happen, but I'm thinking I might just ditch this area and move towards Alberta. They really want to seem to have an economic relationship with the United States more so than the rest of Canada. And so Alberta and Saskatchewan are seriously talking about it in a way that our Constitution will allow it. There is a way that it can be done, but it'll probably be one of those things that, you needed a 50% majority vote. You got 49. So, you know, for the next 2 years, people are going to have rallies and protests and expend a bunch of energy, and they'll keep moving the goalposts at the federal level, and we'll never see it done. But I think I'm going to seriously consider relocating farther west of where I am, because here it's fairly socialist in Manitoba. We've got a very socialistic provincial government, and our federal government is outright communist at this point. It's World Economic Fund and Bilderberg Davos kind of central banker, Chi-Com influenced federal politics, and so yeah, people in the West have had enough. So that's going to be a national discussion for the next several years. How long that would actually take, I don't know, but I can see the writing on the wall is that we're in for a whole lot of economic hurt, but Alberta wants to get resources to the states. They want to sign contracts with Donald Trump. They want to have friendly relationships to get trade going with people that want to do business with us. We're at the federal level, you know, we've turned away natural gas contracts with Europe. I guess Trump's latest blow is he's going to get a mineral deal happening with Ukraine. So a lot of precious metals and you know, lithium and aluminum and various things are going to come from halfway across the world, where we would happily want to sell you that stuff. But now at the federal level, like, it seems like they want to slowly collapse our economy, and that's just going to hurt the everyday person. And I guess going full circle to well, we started off with this musical mentality discussion and the everyday man and the common man and everyone's experience, like they're trying to punish us or something. So you guys are getting it too. It just looks different, but yeah, I've wanted to live out west since I was a younger man, and I don't know why. I just stuck around here. I guess home is like it's like you've got roots where you are, and I do have a connection to this area. Maybe it's a spiritual thing too. I don't know. I'm willing to explore that, but there's something about the West and the mountains. I've always felt more at home there. Let me just see what's. No solar panels. Dad says he's got lots of history and labor of love, landscaping and building. Can't imagine leaving unless it's to leave it to your grandson. Well, that's the thing too. Is a legacy of generational wealth, transferring it, uh, keeping it in the family. That's how wealth is built, by acquiring assets, most often real estate, and keeping it in the family. And yeah, Dad, if you can do that, that's a wonderful way to bless the generations that are coming behind you, and keep that wealth in the family. But here, I mean, we've got the inheritance tax, so you're anything you leave to your children, uh, real estate wise, unless it's in a trust. I mean, that's a whole other ball of wax. But they want it. They don't want that wealth to transfer from generation to generation. They want to scoop it up, and so the wealth tax, the inheritance tax, it really hits farmers bad here. It's hard to keep a farm in the family because the generation can't pay the land transfer fees, or on thousands of acres, because that wealth is just extracted through the inheritance tax. So yeah, you guys are seeing it. It's happening in the States as well. I think Trump had talked about removing that in his first term. I don't know where that's at this point, but there's a few farmer channels I follow. Trinity Vandenaker and Yanasa is another good one. They're both kind of in, I believe, like Montana area. Ranchers talk about these kind of political challenges, impediments to building wealth for farmers. And RP says, problem is everything is effing junk and won't last. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's where estate sales and auctions. I've been buying old, tired iron and junk that will last. Some of the stuff that you buy at Harbor Freight or wherever, it's good for a couple of uses and then done. Mr. Osgood says a stalker neighbor kept threatening me and your family for 20 years. Stop going out in your yard or public for the last 30. Yeah, that's crap. Garbage. And yeah, that's some kind of weird HOA crap. But yeah, if you got stalker weirdo neighbors, I mean, you're dealing with psychopaths. Who had a story about? Oh yeah, there's a Canadian former YouTuber. She's on Twitter mostly, but also Rumble, or maybe only on BitChute at this point. The Amazing Polly. I don't know if Americans would resonate with that, but she made a community post the other day that she's having trouble with neighbors. They put up a big fence, a big no trespassing sign, and acting all weird. It's like, how can I retaliate without, you know, and still maintain the high ground. And I just said, move. You're dealing with psychos, man. Just from the brief paragraph, like you're dealing with psychotic people. If you can handle that, like that takes a special skill set to do that. If you don't have that skill set, just run. They're gonna make your life hell. And Mr. Osgood, I'm assuming you can relate. Rallying and protesting is just gonna wear people out until the next time around. Mr. Gold has a story, yeah. Check out Reluctant Prophets channel for Mr. Gold's saga. It's all intertwined with what he's got going on in that subdivision where they live. Killdozer is always the answer, right? Yeah, I don't believe rallying and protesting works myself. Political activism. I'm of the anarchist stripe. I don't want to participate in their system, but with certain things you do. Like I've got a driver's license. I'm not doing the full Sovsit thing or free man on the land thing because I just don't have the time to be stopped every time I need to run into town because I don't have plates or what. Like it's maybe that's pussing out, but it's just they're gonna make your life hell. I know about Killdozer, I just haven't had the time to make one. Oh, okay, that was his name. Yeah. Whistling Diesel, okay. I don't know if I'm subscribed to him. Tucson Mountains are a source of comfort. USMC. Which code is that? Death tax. Yeah, we're taxed to death. And in Alberta, the province to the west of me, or a couple of provinces to the west, we got Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan is next door to Manitoba. I like Saskatchewan as well, but Alberta has got the mountains. I've got a hankering for the mountains. I don't know if I'm tough enough to make it in the mountains, but oh, you know Polly? Okay, now you guys are just speaking some weird code or cryptographs here. But yeah, with that development, with Mark Carney, the WEF stooge, or I mean puppet, I mean asset, all I see is economic disaster, and they've been, yeah. The other tax they want to do is home equity tax. So if your home value goes up year by year, like you know, they're inflating the cost of real estate like crazy. Like housing has gone absolutely hockey stick graph. You know, exponential growth in real estate prices since Justin Trudeau took over 10 years ago to make housing virtually unaffordable in places like Toronto, a lot of Ontario, and Vancouver is pretty much inaccessible. Vancouver's been inaccessible for investment, and I mean it's just bad policy. But through unchecked immigration, like housing is in such high demand. Like we just don't have the resource here. like the supply has just outpaced the demand so badly, and so now if your property value goes up, they want to tax you on the increase of your home equity. So so yeah, real estate is not even a haven as far as an investment anymore. Like it's crazy. So they're just trying to make a wealth transfer. Like we don't have a middle class in Canada anymore. It's the upper middle class has been absorbed into kind of the wealthy, and the working middle class has become like the working poor, the lower middle class. Like the middle class has been decimated, and yeah, I really feel for the younger generations, the millennials, and I mean some of them might have houses that they're owning, but housing is a big concern for the Generation Zyklon or Generation Z. Generation Alpha is like they're kind of just I don't know if it's doom vote at this point, but it's not. You know, they're just sucking the wealth out of us at every and yeah, day by day, you just it's not conspiracy anymore. They want to get rid of all beef and lamb. They want to get rid of air travel in the next 20 years. All of Europe, I saw a report today. Like they want through all of Europe to have 3 operating airports by the year 2040, and then by 2050, no air travel at all in Europe. And then you know, the electric vehicle malarkey. I mean, where was I seeing? Oh yeah, Corbett report, New World next week. In Spain and Portugal, they have virtual nationwide blackout, like 16 million people or 40 million people without power for bills, and you only have electric vehicles, and there's no power to charge them up. Like, you ain't going nowhere, and like it's just, it makes no sense whatsoever. And the outages in Spain and Portugal are not because the sun's not shining. They rely on renewables, wind and solar. It's because there was too much sun, and their systems couldn't handle all that influx of power being generated. So the whole thing just shut down because there was too much power. So it's like the renewable 2.0 system that they reconfigure is probably going to be worse than what they've already got. So it's sort of like just a bunch of fools. They don't want you to have any wealth, any power, any ability to have any kind of autonomy. But people keep voting for it. I don't know. Stop voting, people. Maybe these fall away if you just stop paying attention to them. Quebec, Ontario, BC. BC was a favorite. Yeah, there's some just. I mean, Quebec and Ontario's got some places to go. I don't know where you were, but BC, it's hard to find a place that. Vancouver, like the Lower Mainland of Vancouver, is a toilet, but so many beautiful destinations in British Columbia. I just thought about sharing his stuff. I love James, very sad. Oh, James Corbett. Yeah, I just watch him on Shoot. Um, Mr. Osgood's been haunted by a neighbor to fight for so long. Been on Firewatch. Reluctant Prophet is sexting in the chat now. All right, that's over my head. So yeah, we're pretty much hooped here in Canada. So I don't know. I think yeah, move out west, set up my passport so that I could travel to and from even into the States. I got to renew my Canadian passport. You know, I'd like to get back down in the States again if possible, even just do some golfing, which I haven't done in like 20 years. Yeah, that sense of hypervigilance just because your neighbors are crazy, that's gotta stress you out. That's gonna take a toll on your health, man. Like your cortisol levels are just you're not you got to reduce those stress levels and having one eye over or sleeping with one eye open and always looking over your shoulder, that's no good. You know, reluctant profit, I've heard you use the term gang stalking, targeted individuals. That's a real thing, man. Oh, you played Laval in college football. Okay. Yeah, upstate New York. Oh, you're going strip clubbing. I like upstate New York. When I used to drive truck, that was beautiful. Beautiful area there. All through the Appalachians. Pennsylvania, Virginia. I do like that area. Molson Triple X. I don't know where Malone is. But you guys in Arizona, like seriously, like I couldn't live down there. Like 120 or whatever insane temperatures you got. I don't know, man. I couldn't do it. It gets up to 100 here, you know, for a few days in the summer. But that 120 and like that's nuts. I almost wouldn't want to get used to that. Maybe it's good for the pores and the skin or something. I don't know, but that just sounds scary to me. I've never done well with heat. I don't love the cold, but that desert heat, I don't know if I could do it. I remember, you know, truck driving story here. I was somewhere in North Texas. Oh, it was just north of Dallas, like Denton, Texas, if I remember correctly, somewhere around there. There was a truck stop, and this is when I first started driving, like 98, 99. And I stopped at the truck stop midday to go hop in there and grab a shower. And went in there, I think it was Flying J, and had my shower, had something to eat, and then I was going to come out to the truck and kind of sleep through the heat of the day and then travel again at night. And from the truck stop door to my truck door, which, you know, wherever it was, 100 yards away, 50 yards away, I forget, but just came out of, you know, fresh showered, shaved, and clean. And by the time I got to my truck door, got inside, turned the air conditioning on, I was just drenched with sweat. Like the humidity was insane. Like literally, my shirt was soaked, my gotch was soaked. Like, I thought, how do people live out here? This is nuts. And I don't even think it was like the height of summer. Programmed yourself to mindfully relax when I hear car horns now. My thing here is I got planes flying overhead constantly, and It's not FBI. Maybe it's gang stalking. I don't know if the municipality surveys stuff, but there's a flight school not far from here, like 20 miles away. For whatever reason, they come to this area to do their, I guess there's landmarks here or something. It's small engine stuff, so they do all fly by sight. And always planes, planes, planes. Traffic isn't that bad down here. It's roosters and sheep bleating that is the major noise, and dogs. Dogs are always barking. All the neighborhood dogs bark. I don't even hear the coyotes from the house anymore. But, anyways, I think we've covered everything. What else has been going on the internet? We covered Bow, covered Lane Myers, covered Psycho Neighbors, Alberta separation. Dogs are going off again. I showed you a duck. I think we're pretty good for Saturday night. Saturday night party. So yeah, I'll leave this whole portion, this whole video up. I'll clip the very beginning where I was just getting set up. And so hopefully people that are into the music content will pick this stuff up and stay to the end. And yeah, contribute to the Bow Legal Fund. Do either the Give, Send, Go to Lane Myers or PayPal, Venmo, Cash App. Yeah, I guess a question for Reluctant Prophet. Do you know how Lane's wife is doing? Like, I have no idea what their budgetary needs are. Like, if she's doing all right. Just want to let you know, Kat, we're with you. Definitely, if there's a way to make things easier on the Myers family. I know Lane's obviously going to be missing those dogs. I don't know how much dog food they go through, but can't be anywhere near as much as what Reluctant Prophet is paying for dog food. But yeah, if there's a way to help, like, we can get the links up there. But I don't know. I'm just kind of presuming everybody needs a little bit of that fiat to keep the wheels turning and the lights on and the fridge stocked up. So yeah, you're welcome. That I think, again, this goes to the spiritual thing and kind of my religion. That was a God thing. God kind of threw that in my lap, and so that was unexpected. But at this point in my life and my experience with the way God works, I kind of expected something like that to happen. It was a way to get me more involved in the Lane Myers story in a fundamental way, and I think that's all that was going on there. It wasn't just blind chance. I don't think. I think there was something legit going on there. So I think that story still has more to go. Lane and Kat are doing okay. That's good to know. She's taking on more work. Yeah. So whatever. Like I don't know how they live. I don't know what their income needs are or what Lane's income was, prior to jail. Like, it's kind of none of my business. I've never got into that with Lane at any level. That's kind of a private matter. I don't need to know, but obviously, yeah, if Lane's contribution to the household income is removed, like that's the reality of life. You've got to make up for that shortfall. So 30 opposing comments and 4 in support. To what? Oh, okay. To the petition. Yeah. No, that's great. On that public facing board, yeah. Yes, good. I haven't checked out that site in a while. Again, I didn't leave a comment. Again, just me. It seems odd for someone from a different country to be weighing in on your political and legal process. Foshin is helping with commissary. Yeah, I guess that's a question I had. Like, are there stuff he needs in jail? So yeah, if there's ways to connect with people that are looking with that, go to, this is a public service. I'll put his link or his channel up here in the chats if anybody wants to contribute to Lane's commissary. I had looked into that too. I can't directly put money on his commissary through the website, so I would have to do it indirectly. But yeah, if I can kick in a few bucks, if it's, I guess, if there's a way to earmark it for Lane's commissary, but I can't from Canada go through that website or the portal or whatever. I tried. They don't give me access to put it directly, so I would have to go through a third party like Foshin. And his channel is about to be posted here in the chat. Let's give that a try. So yeah, if you want to check out, this is a public services coverage of the Lane Myers shit show, or the Pima County shit show, starring Lane Myers. Go over there, and he's looking after Lane's commissary. It seems your political bullshit is top news, and well, that's kind of by the orange fellow that's in charge. For whatever reason, I'm still trying to figure this out. Is he playing by their script, or is he trying to rewrite his own script? I still don't know. There's things he says and does that are agreeable. Other stuff is like, where is this coming from? And so the media is focusing on this one individual for what seems to be an agenda. It seems to be a coordinated effort. So yeah, is Donald Trump a participant in the scripted narrative? Because I've said this before on this channel, you know, the North American corridor, or the North American trade pact, or the North American Union, whatever you want to call it. Bao calls it the North American technate, the technocracy. It's being created right in front of our eyes at this point. I don't want to see Canada become the 51st state. I'd rather Canada just stay Canada, but our policy for the last 25 years probably has almost made this an inevitability. So has this been the script that everybody is following for the last 50 years, you know, post World War II, or, you know, when did this come about? Is Trump playing into that to accomplish what, you know, if Bill Clinton or Barack Obama or George W. Bush had attempted this, you know, people on the right, the conservatives, Republicans, however, they would have been screaming at it. Even classical liberals back in the day, they wouldn't have wanted to see this. You know, this is a page right out of George Orwell's 1984. This is Oceania being created, you know, this economic region. And that's what Canada is right now. We're no longer a country. We're just an economic region. But the Oceania of George Orwell's 1984 is being formed right underneath us. and it's wild. Where people would have been screaming bloody murder not too long ago, it seems like there's enthusiasm for this. So 100% owned by the. Oh, what's the matter? You woke up. Okay. Sorry. All right. Okay. All caps. He's serious. He's serious. All right. If you talk about Trump or ACDC, he goes all caps. Just full retard. No, I'm just kidding, right? Just teasing, buddy. Just teasing. But it's like Trump is following a script to some degree, but it's like, is he all in, or it's like, is it just rhetoric? Is America first really what he's going after? I still can't discern. Like there's a spiritual side of this. You know, the evangelicals, the Christian right has jumped behind him, but it's like there is no conservative in Canada anymore. There's nothing to conserve. You know, the what's called the Conservative Party are now centrists, or even left of centrist. The Liberals used to be the centrists, but now they're full on socialist communist. And our socialist communists, they're 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 full blown. I don't know what Marxist, I guess. Um, he's just our first Jewish president. Yeah, it's like there's just some whacked out policies that are coming out of that White House, and you know, it's almost again, it's like a full spectrum assault on your everyday person. You know, if it's environment or the threats to the food supply or the threats to the economic situation, and it's the authoritarianism, or it's the chemtrails, or it's the woke agenda, or the LGBT. You know, it's just it's full spectrum dominance they're going after, and it's hard for anyone or the next pandemic or the next health scare or what is it like. You can't stay on top of all of it, so most people just give up because they're overwhelmed. The art of war, the art of deceit. Yeah, you know, we're all paying attention here. You guys know. We know what's going on. It's just we want it to stop. And aside from mobilizing the killdozers, like that's not the route we'd prefer to take, right? We want to do this the non-violent way. Uh, and we've been very patient. And I've said I can be a very patient person until I'm not. And don't mistake our patience for complacency. Where ignorant armies clash by night. Wasamata said on video almost 2 years ago that the border was open so that Trump or whatever Republican president came next, he hadn't announced yet, could double down on prisons, police, courts. And you're still, I can see you typing away. Type, 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 type. Yeah, it's the authoritarianism with an American flag wrapped around it. Uh, Here we've got the Liberals rebranded and somehow convinced the country to embrace Canadian nationalism, Canadian patriotism, to fight against the evil Trump, who is threatening our way of life, which he's totally not. I mean, I'm kind of. There's things that Trump could do to make our life miserable, but at the moment, they were able to brand the battle for democracy was a battle against Donald Trump, and the boomers all fell for it. But redistricting for Dems, both sides are following the script. it's not hard to see if you look. And it's like, yeah, it's sort of, it's all happening, but a multifaceted attack. And so whether it's, at the political level, governmental level, here in Canada, I've said, the civil service is, I don't know if it's doubled in size in the last 10 years, but that's not economic growth. That's not employment growth. They brag about employment numbers, but when you're growing public servants and civil service, those jobs cost taxpayers money. They don't provide anything to our GDP. And we're just creating a professional welfare class. That's all. These are people that can't provide value elsewhere. So they get government jobs and government pensions and inflated or bloated salaries that are hard to justify. But our public service sector has just exploded in the last decade. Blue or red signs in front yard. It's cult behavior. It's a cult mentality, or it's tribalism of a sort. The way James Corbett says, I like Coke. No, I like Pepsi. It's the same thing. It's the elites or the ruling class, the overlords, the powers that ought not to be. They know human psychology. They've been watching us for years. They know how to divide people to get the attention off of them and get us fighting amongst each other and wasting our energy that way, so that we can't address the real problem, which is these leeches, vampires, bloodsuckers, whatever you want to call them, that don't provide any value but just extract wealth and resource for themselves. It's is it demonic strictly? Is it psychotic behavior like narcissism? I don't know. Again, there's a very broad discussion that we could start to weave the spiritual side into all this, and not the Jordan Maxwell, Illuminati bloodlines necessarily. Like, there's a lot of whack stuff out there. I've heard it all, seen it all. Go back to my older videos, Standing on the Shoulders of Giants. You'll see where I came from as far as the resources and sources I've come across on the internet, for the last 2 decades. It's from a Christian standpoint, or cowboy Christian standpoint. I mean, there's some real whack stuff out there, and I think some of the answers are simpler than we make them out to be. So we'll save that, another discussion, for another day. Trump just gave trillions with a T to Big Pharma again. Well, they probably needed it to fast track a new self-replicating schmaxine, mRNA, RNA. Well, we'll just say it, a vaccine. It's terrifying. What's terrifying is making it mandatory. That's the terrifying. If it was all voluntary, I'm not standing in anybody's way that wants to take any medical intervention that they choose. That's between them and their doctor and their God and their conscience, whatever helped you get through the night. It's when you order people to do things that violates their conscience or just their rights or their own autonomy, that's when there's no such thing as freedom. And I still am a prisoner of hope that I believe that there is such a thing as freedom. I'm an eternal optimist that God does possess justice or values justice to the point that the whole message of the Bible, if you read that document and read it as just literature, read it as a document of, and take it for what it's worth. a theme running throughout the Bible is for his people to access freedom. When you look at it kind of through that lens, like there's not the only lens to look at it through, but if you're approaching the scripture, you know, the Christian Bible, Old and New Testament, there's stuff that needs some scrutiny, but if you look at it as a literary work of a God who created a people and his desire for them is to experience freedom, that might help clear through a lot of misunderstanding that brings division to the Church of God, the people of God, you know, the family of God, however you want to say it. Different ideologies, different theologies, different doctrines. It's God's quest to provide freedom for his people, for his creation. It's one thing telling them to shove the shots. I just hope to never need some donated blood. Well, whatever. You know, the medical system, from an emergency medicine standpoint, second to none. You break a leg or you need emergency heart surgery to save your life. You know, there's technological advances in medicine that, when it comes down to it, it's second to none. And especially in the United States, your doctors and the technology that you have access to, it's superior to what we have up here as far as the ability to treat. It's just access to that through not healthcare. Well, it's coverage, right? It's healthcare insurance that causes you guys to stumble, whereas we have the insurance, but having that insurance doesn't necessarily give you access to the latest and greatest. Having that insurance gives us access to be put on a waiting list in many cases. Many people up here, though, do swear that our healthcare system is great. You know, it's served them well. My parents' generation, you know, whether it's for glaucoma surgery, you know, the in and out, or knee replacement or hip replacement, you know, I've got family members that have been treated very well by our system. But other things where it's like treatments that are life and death, like you could be on a waiting list, and so then that's where you bring in, you know, doctor assisted suicide and things like that. Things that YouTube doesn't want you talking about. They don't call it doctor assisted suicide anymore, but that's what it is. But it's end of life care or whatever. The MAID program, which is medical assistance in dying. You know, whatever. The Zimmerman Letters 2.0. I look at the Zimmerman Letters 2.0. An intercepted message from Germany to Mexico to create another front and delay entry into European theater beyond the southern border. I don't know if you're still typing on that message. I'm not familiar with the Zimmerman Letters. Yeah, a bunch of us got canceled, right? Right now the heat is off, and I kind of feel at liberty to speak freely. But yeah, it's sort of like the scamdemic there was just a warm-up for what's coming next. I didn't voluntarily do shit last time. So I got canceled when I posted the patents for COVIDs and vaccines all the way back at the start of a pandemic. It's already created before they gave the $6 trillion to pharma. Yeah, I mean, it was just such a, like, what's the word? Hoax? I talked about COVID last week too. To the end of the live stream event. Don't want that vax booster blood nowhere near me. Scared to death to get some Well, in that some of these technologies, the mRNA stuff and the self-replicated RNA vaccine, I haven't been following that, but I do have background science, and I'm not convinced because I can't verify independently what goes on physiologically. Uh, we saw so much crap during COVID, whether it was, the magnets sticking to people's arms, or the snake venom in the blood, or you the vaccine changes your DNA, which it doesn't. Like that's not how it works. I'm just telling you that way. But yeah, I'm not convinced the blood supply is safe. I used to donate blood. I haven't in probably 15 years. Uh, I was thinking I should go back to donating blood. Just it is a way of removing toxins and excess iron from your system. Excess iron in males is troublesome because there's no way for you to excrete excess iron, where women is, uh, through through their monthly period they uh, they lose a lot of iron through their blood flow, and so that's a way to regulate that. But males, there's no mechanism physiologically to remove excess blood from or iron from your blood or from the body. It would tend to accumulate. So giving blood, donating blood is a way. Um, I need to do a little more research on that, but as far as chelating iron and getting rid of excess iron, maybe water, flushing with water, fasting, I don't know, but it seemed like donating blood. But yeah, I'm not convinced the blood supply is as safe as we would like it to be. So yeah, that's a legitimate concern. Um, I do think that bioweapon, as Wasamatter refers to it, it was messing people up, most certainly. I think there was a lot of placebos or saline shots used. Like it was an experiment. It was an experimental treatment, right? And so you do need a control group. So people that didn't get sick, that didn't end up with wild symptoms or dropping dead or what have you. Uh, we all saw what happened. So you can't just explain it away. Uh, uh, but I was scared to drive. Like I didn't know if people were going to be just dropping dead in traffic, and then pretty soon you got a car barreling down the highway at you at 60 miles an hour in the opposite direction. But people were acting weird, behaving weird. It did mess with them. I would say most certainly. Emergency medicine is great. What do we say? The rest of our system is broken, worthless. It isn't even funny. The CRISPR, yeah, that was coming out right when I was in university, over a decade ago. That started emerging. Like one of my wife's colleagues was doing their advanced degree in the same lab. Another research student. She was looking, or she actually went to seminars where they were discussing CRISPR at the time. That was like around 2012, 2015, somewhere in there. Some of these technologies are potential tools. Some of them are are not what they're making them out to be. Okay. Uh, Let me finish reluctant problem. Let's map the human genome with CRISPR so we can find predisposed ailments, then make a vax to explain. I still think turbo cancers are no joke. Yeah. The church I used to go to up here in Winnipeg, it was one of the mega churches in Canada. The pastor died of like turbo cancer, and it was one of those health and wealth prosperity charismatic churches. I don't kind of believe in that expression anymore, as far as kind of the that all derived out of the William Branham kind of fakey Christianity in the mid portion of the 20th century. Like a lot of these charismatic and Pentecostal congregations all can find their roots in William Branham, who was pretty much a hoax shyster scam artist as far as his ministry went. But yeah, Leon Fontaine, he was, the anointed man of God who would lay hands on people and cure cancers and this and that, and testimonies and healings, signs and wonders. I can almost guarantee he would have been vaccinated, because he was, by the time I had left there, he was like a traveling itinerant conference speaking lead pastor. And it was all that Rick Warren's, purpose-driven life and purpose-driven church. It was that model of church growth. Pack them in, get them serving, and get them saved kind of thing. And he was traveling all around the world. And at the time that he would have been traveling the conference circuit, there would have been vax mandates in place. And I can assure you he would have gotten them in order to keep up his travel schedule. And it was announced that he suffered a very brief battle with cancer, and he was gone in like no time flat. And my jaw was like, what? He's dead? Of what? Cancer? And it was, yeah, for sure, turbo cancer. A friend of mine, his sister-in-law, she didn't want to get vaccinated, but through family pressure and I forget what it was kind of like she held out, then went and got the shots, and then she was gone in a matter of months from cancer. We've all got stories, and who knows what YouTube is going to do as a matter of us talking on this subject matter. I don't even care at this point. Yeah, pray everybody got saline. My family members, they were all enthusiastically lined up. I can't say there were negative effects, but I don't know. I do not know. I mean, nobody ended up with a serious condition as a result of what happened a few years ago. The Eastern Bloc nations infiltrating Venezuelan government. Okay, I'm gonna have to read up on that, Dad. Graphene build structures. That falls in the category I can't independently verify any of that graphene stuff. So I'm leaving that on the shelf. There might be a concern there, but even through like the truther community, whether it was, or the medical freedom community, the vaccine freedom community that was online back then, there was the hydroxychloroquine and the remdes, all the various. After the fact, it seemed like nobody was really getting to the bottom of anything there. The graphene thing, I was skeptical about. I don't know about that. I can't say one way or the other. You may have looked into it more deeply than I have. I didn't look at it just because there's again, if there's no way for me to independently verify what I'm being shown on YouTube, I'm just skeptical, or on the internet. Like, what did Lane Meyer say on one of his last live streams? Believe half of what you see and nothing of what you hear. There's something along that line on the internet. So, certain demographics receive placebo. I think there's certain regions, maybe certain countries. Here we'd spent billions on doses that all ended up in the garbage. Or we tried to ship them off to third world countries so that we could at least recoup a little bit of the losses. It was total scammy. The Trudeau had ties to different companies that were supplying parts of that technology. It was crazy. I mean, in Canada, I mean, you guys know this in the States, but the corruption with these people that are voted into public office, it is just, the grift is strong up here. The the money laundering that went on in the last 10 years is just the scandals that the Trudeau government, and it seemed like the public didn't care. Just one after another after, it just didn't end. Every year there was like 3 or 4 major scandals that the Trudeau government had to deal with, and the media just ran coverage for them, blocked people from getting to the bottom of things, and it's like it never happened. Cartels, Eastern Bloc. Okay, as far as altering DNA, we'd have to do a whole biology lesson here. Well, your body has what's called stem cells, and it's like as the human develops, those cells that make new types of cells are what are contained in your DNA. So to alter your DNA, it's like to create a new organism that's somehow not you. That's not really possible. You're not going to change the entire organism, the entire DNA of an organism. If there's proof of that, I have yet to come across it. Can you change cells? Yes. But can you change the entire organism so that you're expressing a different type of DNA? Yeah. That's not the way mRNA works. Let's just put it that way. Like mRNA codes for proteins, and you've got cellular machinery. Again, this is a whole biology, physiology lesson. And so there's claims out there. It's just I have not seen that. Maybe the studies are out there that yes, you are a completely different organ. I just haven't seen them. So I would need to be able. Yeah, your advice is look further. To my current understanding, there's no evidence that you're able to do that. I'll leave it there. but I will look further. I haven't looked at a lot of this stuff in some time, but if if somebody's got evidence that you can change the entire organism through an injection of any kind, I mean that's kind of like science fiction, like The Fly or something. Can see what's going down, and Tucson is a bad place to be. Yeah, it's like this stuff is going to interfere with your cellular machinery and a lot of the processes, but as far as fundamentally changing your DNA, I'm skeptical. So you got tested in jail. I'll be shutting down your channel before you got going. If I got 10 people watching or 5 people, it doesn't make a difference. Like the goal isn't to be a YouTube star. If they shut down, call it something different. Or go to Rumble or BitChute, I guess. Could say anything on BitChute. I like YouTube. We'll see. We'll see how sensitive YouTube is. Shutting down channels is the least of my worries. Hydroxychloroquine. What was that other shit? The ivermectin, right? The report I got there, and I think this was Amazing Polly that may have covered this, is that one of the side effects of the ivermectin for humans is it doesn't, I don't know if it sterilizes you, but it affects your sperm so that you're less viable to reproduce now. So it's sort of okay. Were all these people that were promoting ivermectin, were they part of the narrative too? This depopulation, or at least Western depopulation strategy. I don't know anybody that necessarily took ivermectin. It's available at my feed store. I could have bought as much as I wanted. I didn't. But it's sort of like my whole approach now is anything on the internet, unless it came from me, is suspicious. Or Bao. I trust Bao implicitly. All hail Bao. So I'm being a little facetious, but yeah, hydroxychloroquine. There's things that worked, but it's sort of there's also everything has side effects too. Chinese infiltration of our northern borders. Yeah, well, it's all coming through Canada. Genetically modified humans. Again, I think they could do that embryonically, but not with like an adult or a fully formed human. Like once the cement has set, you can't pull the lime apart from the sand, apart from the gravel, and extract the water. Like you can't reform the organism. So yeah, as far as using CRISPR and genetic technologies to alter a fetus or an embryo, the human being as it's forming, that is totally in the realm. I took a course called Developmental Biology where it shows how all these processes form how that certain cells, once they've done their job in the organism, they stop making those cells, because as the organism matures, as the human matures, you don't need those cells anymore, and then they become, you know, as development and maturity takes place, different types of cells requiring different types of proteins are formed. And so it's like once you've reached a certain stage, you can't go back a step. And so the danger of you and I becoming genetically modified, even if we're eating exclusively genetically modified food, that's not going to genetically modify us. It's just going to make us sick. And so that's not a good thing. I'm not arguing in favor of consuming a lot of genetically modified anything, but GMO humans, that would be at the developmental embryonic stage. So, so yeah, what's the matter? I'm not accusing you of not understanding, but I've come across plenty of people in this discussion that do think it's like I'm going to be genetically modified, and that's not the case. So, is it going to make you really sick? Absolutely. Or can it potentially make you very sick? Potentially, because it's experimental. We don't know what the outcomes are, and so yeah, if you're signing up to be part of the experimental group, you're rolling the dice there, man. So yeah, I'm just sharing something as far as the ivermectin. Uh, that was one of the reported side effects, that ivermectin does affect I guess human reproductive potential. It lowers your viability of the sperm. I don't know if it necessarily sterilizes you or affects the sperm. I forget the exact mechanism. I can go back and find that for next time, but it seemed like that was a side effect with ivermectin. Is it has the potential to cause a decrease in population because you're unable to procreate as a result of use. So, ivermectin has its uses, yes, but it's sort of the approach in school at the university level, and my wife even took this. She took genetics. With any medication, any pharmacological developed medication, there's always a side effect. With natural compounds, not so much. You know, you may get side effects, but with anything the pharmaceutical industry has to offer, whether it's an aspirin right up to chemotherapy, there is some side effect. Whether it's nausea, dizziness, you know, the usual ones, dry skin, dry mouth, or severe side effects like turbo cancers. There is always a side effect, and so that's kind of the unavoidable dogma, or it's kind of it's almost axiomatic. You're not going to avoid a side effect with a pharmacological intervention. So that's if you're aware of the risks, then fine. Then you can assess the risk, and that's what the whole debate was. COVID. It's like, I see the potential for risks, and I'm willing to take that risk, and they wanted to force you to abandon your better judgment and assume all liability for whatever side effects could potentially happen. And enough people didn't want to play that game, and so so early on in what was it, 2023? It just went away, or what was it, 2022? It seems like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? Or it seemed like it was all just a dream, but it wasn't. Yeah, ivermectin has been used. Uh, I guess one of the the narratives back in the day was that ivermectin was so cheap that they weren't going to make any money on it, and it's basically gone off patent. So you can, as an effective treatment, they weren't able to use their experimental, fancy, state-of-the-art mRNA technologies, which they've been itching to use for years. And so yeah, it's part of the full spectrum assault, whether it's genetically modifying mosquitoes to be impotent or sterile so that they can't reproduce, to carrying bloodborne diseases. It's all just, the more you think about it, the crazier you get. So in my old age, I've learned to kind of ignore some of the stuff that isn't directly a threat to me, mitigate my risks, and focus on the things I can change. And so some of the things I think I can do through YouTube. So just talking shit about music and COVID. So yeah, I hear you. What's the matter? It's it's a it's a complex subject. I just got so worn out by COVID. Ivermectin is a dewormer. Yep, it's to treat parasites. There's natural ways of getting rid of parasites as well. Again, they don't make a lot of money. Some of those interventions are just very distasteful. I never went the full wormwood treatment because that stuff is bitter as all get out, but it grows like crazy around my property. I tried sipping on some wormwood tea as a cleanse. It was like I could only do it for a couple of days. That stuff is nasty. But that's it's called wormwood because it treats worms. Diatomaceous earth is part of your. You can mix it with water, mix it with smoothies or whatever. That deals with various parasites. There's ways to detox, ways to cleanse. There's different compounds that are naturally occurring, that you don't have to use ivermectin, but it's if you got the worms, man, you got to deal with the worms or the parasites. And even in that sense, or the narrative that came to my understanding is, are the parasites the problem, or are they indicative that there is a problem and they're part of the cleanup crew to help deal with, say, an overgrowth of something or other? The human body, this is what I came out of my post-secondary education in university. The human body is so incredibly adaptable. You just have to give it the right opportunity, and it wants to heal itself. And a lot of these interventions stand in the way of that. And so, yeah, just kind of basic common sense. Live as clean as you can. Drink the best quality water you can, the best quality foods you can afford. Living in the cities, you're going to deal with pollution and heavy metals and environmental toxins like electromagnetic something or others, like there's that whole thing too. Whether it was the cell towers or just the overload of radiation that we experience through screens and whatnot. So yeah, it's all part of that full spectrum dominance that we have to battle against. yeah, this autoimmunity explosion in the latter half of the 20th century, things like MS. I've got, you know, what was considered autoimmune is I've been battling psoriasis. I get dry, cracked skin on my hands. Is it something environmental or is it just stress related? There's really no cure for it other than what appears to be, a holistic approach to living a good lifestyle. So decreasing your cortisol levels, decreasing your stress levels, getting good sleep, all those things. It's all interrelated. God in His wisdom made it easy for us to thrive, but it's sort of modern man has found ways to hack the organism, to hack the creation, so that we can become these ubermensch, and now we've got the fourth, fifth industrial revolution, the convergence of machine and man, the biodigital convergence. And so those are the things that creep me out. How much is AI going to help rewire our brains so that we stop thinking, or we give over so much of our cognitive faculties to a machine? Will we all be a hive mind? We won't need YouTube anymore. We'll just be a Borg colony. We'll all live in a nice, comfy cube or something. We'll all live in a cube in the Tucson desert and just communicate telepathically with each other. That would be neat. So okay, now we're full on in the incoherent babbling section of the live stream. So it is now. So it's getting close to midnight. I think it's time we put our coffees down, put the caffeine down, put our screens down. It's almost bedtime for me, so we've been going on. Yeah, that's too long. Too long of a live stream. Nobody's gonna watch 3.5 hours of this. But we'll pick up this discussion another time. It is something interesting. But that is the thing I appreciate coming away from school, because I was, again, not really wanting to engage the educational industrial complex. Very secular and mechanistic in its thinking. But if you look at the body as a human machine, it is so finely tuned and well trained. And my takeaway was that evolutionary processes don't explain this very well. I've had professors remarks like, we've discovered this and there's no way to explain how this evolved. Like they're basically admitting like that Darwinian process that we've been told as gospel truth in the religion of humanism, it never happened. Like these are quotes from professors that I've had throughout the years. So if you can't explain how this fundamental process evolved, like what do you have? Because it's sort of your whole narrative falls apart, does it not? Like how do you sleep at night knowing you can't explain this? And it's not just, well, God did it, it's like God in His infinite wisdom knew what He was doing and created something so fantastic that even our most brilliant minds cannot comprehend what creation is. And so yes, Dad is saying goodnight. I'm saying goodnight. And it is a good night. So if you enjoy this content, like, share. Now we'll do this again real soon. It was a great discussion, guys. I think that was a lot of fun. If you missed the music portion, go back to the beginning. Watch it all again. I'm putting this video into the music mayhem, music mentality playlist, as well as the main channel home homepage, whatever. So you could find that. So good night, Reluctant Prophet. Good night, Mr. Osgood. Good night, What's the Matter You? Good night, Dad. And I think that's all who's left here. Good night and good night.